All right, let's jump right into a massive question, one that really affects everything we think and do. How do we actually know what's true? I mean, we are just bombarded with information every single day, and trying to sort fact from fiction can feel, well, impossible sometimes. So today, we're going to unpack the amazing system that humanity came up with to get past our own biases and get a little bit closer to the truth. But before we get to the solution, we've got to understand the problem, right? We all have this huge collection of facts in our heads that we think are true. But have you ever stopped to ask where they came from? Let's put a really common piece of knowledge to the test. You know the story, don't you? They've got this super deadly venom, but, and here's the kicker, their fangs are just too tiny and weak to actually bite a person. It's one of those tales that gets passed around for years and years until it just feels true. But is it? Okay, take a look. This is the little guy at the center of the whole myth. We call it a daddy long legs, but its official name is a harvest man. And if the story is to be believed, this thing is packing some of the most potent venom on the planet. And here's the twist. It was a trick question, because they're not even spiders. They belong to a totally different group of arachnids, and guess what? They have no venom glands, no fangs, nothing. The entire fact just completely evaporates because the first assumption, that it's a spider, is just plain wrong. It's a perfect, and I mean perfect, example of how a good story can feel more true than the truth itself. So, how in the world does a myth like that get so popular? Well, it's because our brains are basically wired to take shortcuts. They're designed to give us quick, easy answers, to make sense of the world. Super efficient, right? The only problem is, they're often wrong. Let's look at a few of these mental shortcuts we all use. First up, we've got the method of tenacity. This is the it's true because, well, it's just always been true method. That daddy longlegs myth, a textbook case. We believe it because we've heard it a million times from people we trust, and it just has the ring of truth to it. But see, the big flaw here is that this way of knowing has zero ability to self-correct. If it's wrong, it just stays wrong. Next up is the method of intuition. This is when you accept something just because you have a hunch, a gut feeling. It feels so real, so personal. It's that moment where you feel like you just know something is true, even if you can't explain how you know it. But here's where intuition can get really dicey. Just think about eyewitness testimony in a courtroom. Our intuition screams that we should trust what someone saw with their own eyes. But decades of research have shown, again and again, that human memory is incredibly unreliable. Our gut feeling can be completely wrong. Okay, now here's a big one we use constantly, the method of authority. You ask a doctor for medical advice, you listen to a professor in a lecture, you read a book by a leading historian, and let's be honest, this is often a fantastic place to start. It's way more efficient than figuring everything out from scratch. But, and this is a big but, it has some serious pitfalls. For one, experts can be wrong. Sometimes we accept what they say without a single critical thought. That's called the method of faith, just blind trust. And today, with the internet, we have to be so careful about who we're even calling an expert in the first place. So, if we pull it all together, we've got these non-scientific ways of knowing things. We've got tenacity, which is just tradition. We have intuition, which is our gut feeling. And we have authority, which is trusting an expert. These are our brain's default settings. They're quick, they're easy, but as we've just seen, they can lead us way off track when it comes to finding out what's actually true. So, this leads us to the most important question of all. If our gut feelings, our traditions, and even the experts can get it wrong, how can we possibly find answers that we can rely on? Is there a better way, a system designed to protect us from, well, from ourselves? The answer is a resounding yes. It's called the scientific method, and it's not a shortcut. It's the complete opposite. It's a powerful, rigorous, and systematic process for getting much, much better answers. Now, I know, you look at a chart like this, and it can seem a little intimidating, but don't worry about all the boxes and arrows. All this really is a roadmap. It's a map that shows you how to get from a simple observation all the way to a well-tested idea, step by step. Let's just break it down into its core parts. It all starts when you see something interesting and you ask a question. Then you make a testable guess to answer that question. That's your hypothesis. And here's the most important part. You have to actually test that guess against real-world evidence. Finally, you look at what you found and you share it with everyone else so they can poke holes in it, check your work, and build on it. It's this strict, transparent process that draws a really bright line between real, actual science and all the other stuff out there that just pretends to be science. And knowing the difference is absolutely crucial. You see, real science has a few key hallmarks. It's empirical, which just means it's based on observable evidence, not just feelings or beliefs. It's public, meaning you have to show your work so other people can try to get the same results. And it strives to be objective, which means it uses methods specifically designed to remove personal feelings and biases from the equation. Pseudoscience, on the other hand, is like an actor wearing a lab coat. It looks the part, it uses big, sciencey words, but it's missing all the key ingredients. It lacks testable ideas, it doesn't welcome scrutiny, and it's not based on objective evidence. And you've seen this stuff everywhere. Think about astrology. It makes huge claims about your life based on where the stars were when you were born, but there's no testable evidence to back it up. These kinds of ideas rely on those old mental shortcuts, tenacity, and intuition, the very things the scientific method was built to overcome. So what does this all mean for you and your day-to-day life? Well, the most important thing to realize is that the scientific method isn't just for scientists and labs. It's a way of thinking. It's a tool that any of us can use to navigate the world a little more clearly. That's really the big takeaway here. You don't need a fancy degree to do this. Thinking like a scientist is really just about being curious. It's about valuing hard evidence more than a comfortable belief. It's about having the honesty to ask, wait a minute, how do we really know that's true? And maybe this is the most beautiful part of it all. The goal of science isn't to be right or to find some final, absolute truth. The goal is simply to get a little bit less wrong every single day. It's a process of constant refinement, of chipping away at our own ignorance. It's all about the progress, not about being perfect. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. Remember that daddy long legs myth? What's one thing that you believe, maybe just out of habit, that might be worth a second look? Because applying a little bit of healthy skepticism isn't about being cynical. It's the first brave step towards seeing the world as it actually is.